Red. Oh shit!
Yeah, I saw her
You're on, Wendy.
join and then
Yeah,
disconnect.
yeah, I'm fine, love. Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, hi.
Thanks for coming. I'm so glad you come. I was hoping you would come because this guy he lives in Israel, and I don't know if
Oh,
you
okay.
listened to any of the other. I don't know if you've listened to the streams, the last 6 streams I've done. If you go and look, it's Alexander Kekov. We done a series of chats with up about
Yeah.
eight
All
we
right.
did, and Dale done the last one. Anything you want to ask him about Israel, he can tell you anything. He's been in the army and he's going back there again. He's doing his
Okay.
papers and yeah.
All right, love. So, hi, is it
Hello.
Alexander?
That's it.
Hi.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Alexander. There's a lot of people who have been going around saying that the Hannibal directive was put in place on October the 7th. Now, I've been
Mm,
shouting from the rooftops, no, it wasn't. Okay, and I just
the
wondered if you've got
Hannibal
any of them.
directive exists in the army for more than 40 years, 35 definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So we had like back in the late 80s, we had situations where soldiers were kidnapped, especially by Hezbollah,
Yeah,
and the terrorists would try to exchange them for hundreds of terrorists that we keep in our prisons, and the government went for that deal a couple of times. Famously, the
yeah,
last one was the Shalit deal, released 1,027 terrorists, including the current leader of Hamas, Yahya Sinwar. And there was a directive that if somebody sees a soldier being kidnapped alive, then you're allowed to shoot to kill
yeah.
both them and the kidnappers.
This is
And
guys. I just got her onto the phone quick. Okay, sorry. All right.
That's all right, Easy. So, but it was discontinued, wasn't it? And other things
no,
were put in place.
no,
So it's still there.
yeah, obviously. We had it activated in a few special occasions, like on the last day of the 2014 war of Steadfast Cliff, where a suicide bomber blew up several soldiers, and they grabbed the body of one of
Right.
them, and the IDF. It was like several hours after a truce came into effect. So Hamas violated the truce and they stole the. We were not sure if they're alive or dead, and they grabbed the bodies of soldiers killed in suicide bombings, and they had they brought in like 5,000 artillery rounds above the tunnel from through which the dead bodies were being dragged, and they're still there today, I think. But on October 7, yeah, we activated the protocol, and there was the famous incident in Be'eri where there was about
Can
8
you
people.
like Alexander? Can you explain to me because you say you activated the protocol, but what happens is people are going around saying, I mean, it's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous that the IDF troops were literally killing their own people, shooting their own
If they
people.
see them being kidnapped, then yes, yes, that's
No,
the
no,
directive.
no, just no, not that, love. No, no, just walking up and shooting them for no reason other than they were there
Walking up.
and
No,
shooting them. Yeah,
if you see somebody being dragged away, being kidnapped, whether alive or dead, you're allowed, you're even told to shoot them. And there were a few incidents, like in Be'eri, there was a hostage situation of about 8 Israelis and 5 terrorists, and the tank fired an explosive round into the house, killing everybody except one person. So they killed the terrorists with the hostages. So, and we had situation when they were dragging people back into the Gaza Strip, where they
yeah.
were dropping mortar rounds on the convoy. There was even, I think, one car with the hostages in it that got bombed by a helicopter. It's again, it's normal because, like I said, for every living hostage, the previous governments would release hundreds of terrorists because
Yes, I know. I
we're
know.
living by Middle Eastern rules here. So whether alive or dead, we will fight to bring our people back into our territory.
Yeah, I think
And
that's where the West goes wrong, is that we look at like we we forget that you're not working on our rules. You're working on what it's like to live out
uh,
where you are.
I can quote an American. There's a streamer called Salty Cracker. You
Yeah.
probably don't know him. But in a recent video that he did, he said something like, if him if I get kidnapped, then I expect my government to kill 10 bystanders, 100 bystanders, 1,000 bystanders trying to
Mhm.
release me. And I don't care if even I get killed myself during that release attempt, because the point is to send a message: do not mess with us, do not try to kidnap our people. That's the kind of message I expect my government to send to everybody else. And that's closer to the Middle Eastern mentality, or
Right.
you have, like, in Britain, you had this ridiculous, not one scandal, series of scandals where teenage girls were being kidnapped and raped by Muslim
And
men.
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
here in Israel, if anybody tried that, he would have 200 soldiers knocking down on the village. We had like a case of like two criminal gangs, two Arab criminal gangs, and one of them kidnapped a 10-year-old child, a Muslim Arab child. And
Okay.
when the army heard about that, it was like 5 or 6 years ago. Within 2 hours, their village was surrounded by 1,000 soldiers, and they got out of prison the most, famous mobster boss, and sent them into the village and told the kidnappers to release the child, or we'll level the entire village right now. So
Yeah, there's
kidnapping
different
is not
rules
the
out
kind of
there, isn't
crime
there?
that happens in Israel. Not to
Yeah.
anybody, not under any circumstances. Killing
So
is one thing, but you don't kidnap. Even if you kill them, you have to bring back the body. We had like a situation about a week ago where the son of the former Israeli ambassador to Norway, who's an
mhm.
Arab, was kidnapped, beheaded, and they brought back his body so that nobody will enact force to look for that body, because if he was kidnapped, it would be worse than if he was just killed. So
Oh,
that's the local rules here. Being
all
kidnapped,
right. So
even dead, is a lot more violent than being just murdered, because we have like, what do I call it, a tribal mentality where ancestral lands, yeah, ancestral lands,
yeah.
where even if somebody is dead, he has the right to be buried within his ancestral homeland and not stay unaccounted for.
Is that
Same as
why Hamas? Is that why
we don't
Hamas?
have almost missing
Is
people
that
here.
why Hamas, Alexander, hang on to the bodies of dead soldiers or dead
Yeah, yeah,
civilians?
they expect to
Right.
exchange them. I mean,
Right.
with when we used to have in the past wars with the, standing armies, regular armies of like Egypt and Syria and Jordan, and it was normal to exchange the dead bodies. But because we're dealing with terrorists, they will use
Yeah.
anything they can get, so they keep the dead bodies hostage. Like I said, the three soldiers that the three confirmed dead soldiers that they killed in 2014, they're still
Yeah.
holding their bodies for 10 years, and they won't release them. I mean, we
Oh
offered
my
to return
God.
them hundreds of bodies of their own Hamas fighters, and they wouldn't take the deal. They want to release live terrorists in exchange for dead bodies.
Okay. What do you think? Did you hear about where apparently Israel bombed that aid convoy? Did you hear about that, or were you
With
not told
the
about?
humanitarian workers, the World Kitchen thing.
Near the
Yeah, that.
you
Yeah.
on about near the hospital,
So
Wendy?
yeah, I have two explanations for that. Okay, let's say three. There's the
Uh-huh.
official version, there is the half official version, and there is the conspiratorial version.
Uh-huh. Right.
So the official version is that they coordinated a warning to the army, and the army sort of forgot to pass it along somewhere between you don't know, you haven't served. Somewhere between division command and brigade command, somebody didn't open the email, and he forgot to notify not to shoot at this convoy of vehicles. And the World Kitchen people, whatever, they had an armed escort of Hamas fighters with guns so that they won't get, robbed along the way.
Yeah.
And the army saw a convoy with people with guns in it, and it became a legitimate military target, so they shot all the vehicles. And there's arguments, did they see or not see the markings on the rooftop? It was at night, so in a night vision you won't really see the letters, but that's the official version. The unofficial version is that they targeted the Hamas fighters, and they had intelligence. They were given wrong intelligence that the convoy is bringing not only food but also weaponry, because the people working in it is not only foreign volunteers but also locals, and the locals obviously help Hamas. And the army would often find that they in bags of food, they also stash ammunition and smuggle one with the other, and they use the convoy to distribute weaponry. That's also an explanation. And that would suggest that the army knew what it was doing and came up with the uh, unread email thing as an excuse to justify their actions retroactively. And the conspiratorial version, if you look at the biography of the people who were actually killed, you would see that three out of the four were actually former special forces soldiers.
Yes.
So on the one hand, they might have been, released veterans who wanted to volunteer in a dangerous area. And on the other hand, this is exactly the kind of cover that intelligence agencies build to send in spies
Yeah.
and the well-trained ones to promote some sort of thingy. So all three of these explanations are possible, and we will probably never know the actual truth. But I give all three of them.
I just find it strange that three of them were ex-special forces and they were all at the same place at the same time. I,
In
I just find
the
that odd.
kind of, let me put it this way, the aid organization itself would look for this kind of people as on the ground security, because as a relief group they're not allowed to hold weapons, but they will need a guy who can use his fist if the need arises.
Oh,
So
okay.
they would potentially find somebody like that and offer him major payment to be an escort to this sort of convoy. So that's option number four. So we don't really know what happened, and I doubt that we ever will know.
Ever will. Yeah. So do you get many I don't know if you know this or not, but do you get many mercenaries coming over to fight?
For Hamas, yeah, definitely we have the obvious
Thank
ones
you.
are
Yeah.
from Iran and Egypt, but you have all sorts of characters showing up, like from Chechnya, that's Russia.
Mm-hmm.
We have Syrians, Libyans, Tunisians. Anytime there's a jihad, you always get a congregation of everybody from everywhere coming in to fight the infidels. It's not
And
new.
just this one last question. What's your opinion? You must have heard of the Green Prince. What's your opinion on him?
The green what?
The Green Prince, the son of the leader of Hamas. I can't remember his name. Yosef
Ah,
something.
Musab Hassan Yusuf. Yeah, I saw the
Yeah.
documentary. Well, he is a good representative of the way of thinking of the locals, and he is not exaggerating with the famous joke of one cow versus all the other ones. So
He
uh,
do he seems to be he tells the truth. Yeah, I'm quite a fan of his.
he's intense and radical, as you would expect from somebody who held a serious position in a terrorist organization. And just
Yeah,
because he changed his views overall on who he supports doesn't mean that his personality traits, let's call it that, have changed significantly. He
well,
changed
yeah,
his
like he
point of view,
says,
but not his temperament.
he still, even though he's gone against his father, he says that he still loves his father, which is fair enough. But yeah, I agree with you on that point. And what's it like for you as a Israeli citizen? Aren't you fed up and tired of there never being peace in your area?
Um, the more accurate question is, why are you Europeans surprised that we have not had peace? I mean, up until the late 19th century, it was normal to be at war. Especially you in Britain, you always had a fight between the Scots and the Welsh and the Irish and the
Yes.
British, and
Yeah,
the Kingdom of Mercia against the Kingdom of Wessex. It was a normal part of life. You stopped most of these wars by uniting all of these groups into Great Britain and giving
that's right.
very large levels of autonomy and prosperity to, I don't know, like the Welsh are not limited by their Welsh. They can speak Welsh language. They can have Welsh culture. They even have their whole football team in the World Championship, separate from the
Yeah,
English one. So you learn to gradually accept each other's differences, with the notable exception of Northern Ireland, where there was an actual fight between two competing, let's call it, ideologies of the pro-English Protestants and the pro-Irish Catholics. And in a fight over territory, it was actually limited in scope but high intensity, because both sides had access to, let's call it, skilled people. So
well, yeah,
you
you had
had a pretty serious
You had
fight over there.
mainly it was Republicans who wanted it to be, a united Ireland, and then you've got the loyalists who want to remain with Great Britain.
Yeah,
That's basically what it came down to.
so it was a fight over territory between two groups with the different religious views and ideology and the views of the world. So it was a very long, very intense fight, and to a large extent, it was not fully resolved until now. I remember that when you had the Brexit thing, they started to reopen the issues of border checkpoints and taxation and all that stuff. So the conflict has not totally died out. It stopped being actively violent, but the disagreements are still there. And it happened because, let's say, the majority of the population were given an option where peace is better than to keep fighting. But in the case of the Palestinians, they get so much international support and food and especially money that it
Hmm.
is not economically beneficial for them to stop fighting. I mean, before the October 7th thing, they would get 100 trucks of food per day. After the whole after they started lying about the starving and all that stuff, they're right now getting 300 and something trucks of food per day, and that's excluding the supplies they get from the American harbor. And in the peace deal that was published, which they rejected, they were offered 600 trucks of food per day.
Right.
So the more they fight us, the more money and food they get from all the international groups that want to kill the Jews. So for them, it's beneficial to keep fighting instead of having peace.
That's the problem, isn't it? They just want to keep fighting, even when before October the 7th. You know, people will say, "Oh, what was it they like to say? Oh, the Israelis they have guns, but the Palestinians they have stones." No, no, it's not like that at all. The Hamas have weapons. They don't have stones. What's that about?
Eh, um, what to a large extent kept Israel safe from this sort of attack is that there was a conception, a myth that most Israelis are armed. But
Yes, yeah.
the mistake that the Israeli government did is that they allowed people from Gaza to be like what's the word in English? Day laborers, people who come in for a day or
Yeah.
several days
Oh,
to
come
work
in
in
for
the
work.
farms.
Yeah, yeah,
And when these people they went, the Israeli settlements that actually accepted this sort of migrant work were actually the communists. We have the kibbutzim. The kibbutz is like it's a communist hippie commune, and these are the people that did not have guns. And so when these Gazan people returned to Hamas, they told them that in this settlement and this settlement and this settlement, we have been inside their homes. They don't have guns in them, and that's the places that got attacked on the 7th of October, and that's where they had the massacres. And in
right.
the
Now we
nearby
haven't been
areas,
told that. We haven't been told that. You see that, so that's really interesting.
in neighboring settlements where people did have weaponry, even if not a lot, because
Mm.
we also have these liberal judicial justice Supreme Court people that try to confiscate guns. In the places where they still had guns, they held off the terrorists until most people escaped, or sometimes even just straight out defeated the terrorist attacks, and they didn't have a massacre in them, and definitely not kidnappings. So the Hamas is relatively well armed, but they attack the people who are least armed, like all the bullies do. They fight somebody who can't fight back,
Yeah.
and that's why they gained their localized success. That and all of our military generals being traitors, obviously.
Right. Another question, love it, that goes around the internet that nobody can really answer, and they come up with their own conspiracies. What do you think? How do you think they were able to attack the way they did, considering the security that Israel had
The
at
security
that?
is not that good. It was again a myth. I mean, in the entire border area on that morning, there were only 56 soldiers directly on the border, and maybe another 200 in the bases within 3 kilometers of the border. And even the bases within range of the border, they were not in alert posture. So by the time they got to the weapons, they still had the the heavy vehicles in the parking lot when the terrorists rolled in on them. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
basically bad soldiering. The There are a lot of I mean, we're still investigating that, but we have clear names. Have you heard of the Wexner Foundation?
yeah.
So for people who don't know, Leslie Wexner, he was the is, I think, still the owner of Victoria's Secret and a few other
Hmm.
fashion companies. And he was, let's call it, an enthusiastic visitor of Jeffrey Epstein. And
Oh,
what
right.
people don't know about Jeffrey Epstein is that he was a huge leftist, and he was conspiring with various leftist groups around the world on promoting leftist agendas. So Wexner, as a billionaire, created something called the Wexner program, where they invite military officers from Israel, and
Mm.
they basically give them leftist brainwashing in all the liberal junk. Exactly what you expect. Immigration is good, LGBT,
Yeah,
promote women
yeah,
into
yeah.
the fighting roles of the army because A woman can throw around an artillery shell in her hands just as good as any man because she's a strong, independent woman who believes in herself. Believing in yourself is exactly what gets you running around with a 50-kilogram shell in your hands.
Well,
And
exactly.
after and in exchange, they get basically they get a degree in Harvard with whatever grades they tell them. They don't even need to show up for class, and they get a guaranteed senior management job in some corporation later. And this program operated for a good 20, 30 years. And we reached a situation where all of our top generals are graduates of this Wexner program. And like the Army Chief of Staff, Herzi Halevi, the commander of all Southern Command, Finkelman, the direct traitor who ordered the stand down, his equally treacherous Judah Fuchs in the Central Command, and the guy betraying personally me here in the North, Gorodin. So the commander of all the army, the commander of the South, the Center, and the North are all Wexner Foundation graduates, and they're all
Um,
promoting radical leftist ideologies. The explanation most commonly quoted is that they planned for the Hamas to have a small attack, kidnaps a few dozen hostages, and then
mhm.
exchange them for a large group of terrorists and basically bring down the right wing government and maybe even try to force some sort of political solution where they create a Palestinian official recognized state in Gaza. And Hamas, as usual, when you allow the Muslims to start a massacre, they can't hold back. And because
No.
they massacred so many Israelis, because this danda was so complete, then Israel, again by the laws of war of the local Middle Eastern traditions, if a massacre is committed against us, we have to make a much worse massacre against the enemy so that the other neighboring tribes will not dare to attack us. That's uh, that's the way it has to happen. We have not yet committed the proper massacre. If we did, the war would have ended much faster.
Well, I was going to say it would have been over in 3 days, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and the Israeli army is basically when they realize what they've done, they are prolonging the war to sort of hold off the consequences. They have this bizarre delusion that somehow the public anger will subside and we will stop demanding that their hanging be cancelled or something. I mean, the the Israeli public is very certain that they all betrayed us. I mean, they literally had the intelligence community had an emergency meeting at 4 in the morning, like 2 hours before the attack started, and they wanted to, bring the soldiers to alert station. And
Right.
the army chief of staff and the head of the Israeli version of MI5 of Shabak basically told them to cancel it. We'll just send like 20 or 30 guys in the area in case there is a hostage situation somewhere, and we don't even need to alert the soldiers that there might be an attack. And the more interesting question is, of course, the Air Force. From what I hear, we had this before October 7, we had this bizarre game where I don't want to explain the Governiak again. We had this bizarre deal with Hamas that Hamas will shoot a rocket into open areas and
Yeah.
tell their benefactors, "Oh, we bombed Israel," even if they hit, a piece of empty land. And
Yeah.
Israel, as a retaliation, would bomb an empty piece of sand or an abandoned watchtower in Gaza and said, "We destroyed a Hamas facility." And they had this stupid game for years where both sides, record that we attacked the enemy, now give us money. And
Oh, okay.
the theory, as yet unconfirmed, is that in the first hours, the Israeli Air Force thought that they were continuing the deal, and instead of bombing the actual attackers, they were again pounding sand, literally pounding sand. And it took a good 8 hours for the order to stop the treason to come in, and they started attacking actual terrorists. But it's still it doesn't fit. I mean, you had the base commanders of the Air Force bases had to order the pilots not to take off and not to attack the Hamas fighters. That had to have happened by army protocols.
Well,
Furthermore,
what?
I have what
Why do you think they were told not to attack them then?
because, like I said, the theory is that there was a deal. I mentioned Jeffrey Epstein. It was revealed in the investigations after his death that Ehud Barak, the leftist former Israeli prime minister and chief of staff, would meet with Noam Chomsky. He's one of the biggest ideologists of the international left, Trotskyists,
Mm-hmm.
basically. Ehud Barak, Noam Chomsky, a lawyer representing the White House, and a lawyer representing the Swiss branch of the Rothschild family would meet in Jeffrey Epstein's house at least 4 or 5 times, plotting a leftist revolution in Israel. And so they thought that, I mean, the right wing traditionally they try to sell an image of providing security. So they thought that if there is a big military failure, they can blame it on the top guy, and that would be their way to topple the right wing government and replace it with a left wing one. I mean, we still have
So,
these commercials on YouTube, like short ones of 5 seconds, like "You're the head of the government, you're the guilty one." They're trying to basically shame Netanyahu into quitting. I don't
oh
get it.
yeah, that they want rid of him, definitely.
At any price, even if that price is. They planned for dozens of Israelis killed and kidnapped. Instead, they got hundreds of
Uh-huh.
Israelis kidnapped and more than 1,500 killed. And after that, we had to start a war, and we cannot stop that war until we have a decisive victory against the enemy. And because they do not want, the American establishment does not want to have a decisive victory against the enemy, because every single war that Israel fought, it ends with the Americans pressuring us not to completely defeat the enemy, because it would not fit their geopolitical plans. So here
Um.
again,
Oh, hang on. I
they're
thought you won
intentionally
the
stalling us so we don't win.
1967. You won the 1967 Six-Day War.
Of course we were. We could have pushed across the Suez Canal. We could have taken a bigger piece of Syria. We could have finished off Jordan. Amman was left completely undefended. We could have overrun the capital of Jordan, forced all the Palestinians from what you call the 67 lines into
Yeah.
Jordan, have it completely cleared of Muslims, and we would not have the problems of today of the so-called occupation, because there wouldn't have been any Palestinians in that area, any Muslims. I mean, the Christian would have been allowed to stay, and the Americans pressured us not to
Oh,
overextend ourselves.
yeah.
That was 67, 73. Similar situation. We could have completely crushed the Egyptian army, and had we done so, we would have kept the Sinai in the peace negotiations with all of its oil, and there's plenty of uranium there, and vacation spots, all that stuff. But we gave it up because the Americans pressed us not to conclusively win the war, but only partially. And in 82, of course, the Americans objected from day one for us to finish off the PLO and all the
Yeah.
other Hezbollah factions. In all of these latest operations, also, they always pressured us to make a limited attack, stuff like that.
It's too many games, isn't it? Too many games.
Not too many. One simple game. They don't want the Jews to be too powerful. They always have a different plan in mind for us. We're
But
pesky Jews. We don't want to, get loaded into trains to the death camp again. So annoying. So
well,
inconvenient.
no, you that's not going to happen ever again.
Well, we saw on October 7th that it might happen.
I know, love. Yeah, but what I'm saying is, God willing, that will never happen again. No.
Oh, they will definitely try. I mean, they're doing it to the Uyghurs in China right now. So if nobody cares, then nobody cares. Uh,
So what
Did you
is your
hear
life?
about?
Huh? What?
Go on, Wendy. Carry on. It's all right.
No,
Go
I
on.
was just
Carry
going
on.
to ask him if he lives a relatively normal, peaceful life in the part of Israel he's in.
Me? No, I had the. I'm exactly on the trajectory through which Hezbollah fires its rockets. I had like 20 of them shut down. I mean, with the Iron Dome exploding exactly above me. I even had a piece of shrapnel do some light damage to my roof, break one of the
Oh,
shingles. So I have a piece of shrapnel stuck in my roof right now.
oh,
I
wonderful.
I live only 12 kilometers from the border, and the threat of ground invasion by Hezbollah into the nearby military base has not dissipated. And it's you in Western Europe, you are no longer in the mindset where at any moment a group of 100 Vikings will show up to the village and
No, of
kill
course
everybody and
not.
rob
No,
everybody in it. But
no,
in the Middle East,
no, of course not.
yeah, but in Israel, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in
Alex,
Sudan,
you
in
make me laugh.
Algeria, it's still normal. It could still happen at any moment. So people are more tribal. They have guns on them. They have the Shabab that I explained earlier. So here it's still a part of life, and in other area less so, but could still happen.
Well, that gives like you said about the Vikings. It gives me an insight into your in your daily life you are constantly thinking you're going to get invaded.
Mm,
I mean, not fully invaded, but terrorist attacks are always an option. So it's the same thing as driving in the road. At any moment, somebody can go crazy and just swerve into your lane and try to head
Yeah,
on crash and kill you. So
yeah. Well, we've had a bit of that over here, and it's always by the same people,
yeah,
the religion of peace. Yeah.
you get used to the concept that people are trying to kill you, but
You
in
see,
Europe
Wendy,
we are.
when the way you think Alexander is speaking, because he lives where he is and he's got that. People seem a bit shocked, but he's got the people don't realise where he's living and what
Yeah.
threat he's got. And when he says about our way of thinking, we don't have that way of thinking because we
I
don't
heard
live
that
in that too,
in
do we?
London, you're equally likely to be randomly stabbed by somebody. So
Yes.
here
Yeah.
they more often use bullets instead of knives, but we still have knife terrorists in here too. So it's not all that different. It's just more likely to happen in our areas,
No,
but the
I
threat is the
understand him
same.
easy. I completely
Oh
understand
no,
what he's saying.
really,
Yeah.
what I was saying. Sometimes I was a little bit shocked what he said, but then he explained to me it's a more thing because where we don't speak to anybody from Israel,
No.
I was a little bit taken back a little bit, and then he explained to me people don't understand it's a Middle East war. Like MC Anthony asked him, "Do you think blah blah blah?" And he said bluntly, "Well, we'll do anything to protect ourselves." And
Yeah.
MC went off. I agree, but he said it's a Middle East war. People think it's clear cut, and like you have said, it isn't. It's clear cut. It's not one
No.
sided, and
Exactly.
and that's why I really wanted you to talk to him because you have always backed the Jews in Israel. You haven't gone back on anything. Do you know what I mean?
No,
So
no,
it's like
no. I
it was
won't
really
easily neither. No.
nah. I mean,
And
if
I'd rather hear the
I
truth
know
than
Alexander would,
you know.
if you wanted to have him for a show, he'll go over to yours, Wendy. If
Yeah.
you ever want him,
Okay.
if you
But
want him.
I'd rather Alexander be as honest as he's been.
Yeah.
than just play lip service. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather hear I like the truth, not lip service.
I don't
Yeah.
have any reason to lie about stuff. I mean,
Oh
I I haven't said anything, shameful or
no,
atrocious. I mean, you asked about the Hannibal procedure. We have that Hannibal procedure since the late 80s.
that's
If you
right.
see
Yeah.
somebody getting kidnapped and you have a chance to shoot him and maybe hit him to stop the kidnapping, you take the shot. And if that shot
So
means shooting with a tank or with the airplane bomb, you take the shot. That's Hannibal procedure.
why? So hang on. So you look upon it as they'd rather be dead than be took hostage.
If they get taken alive, we will have to release terrorists. And if before the October 7th, out of the 1,000 terrorists, there were at least 150 of them that attempted to make a terrorist attack, and
Oh
about 20 something of them that actually did perform a terrorist attack and killed over 50 Israelis in terrorist attacks because they were outside of prison, because that one soldier surrendered to the enemy alive.
yeah,
So,
I get
had
you
we killed
now.
that
Yeah.
one soldier, we would have saved 50 Israelis down the line.
Ah, I see. Right. Yeah. Well, like you said, it's the way you have to be out in the Middle East.
Mm.
It's
Again, these are terrorist organizations. They don't follow the Geneva Convention. They
no.
don't follow rules or something like that. You have to fight terrorism with the with counter-terrorist methods. And in this case, you have to prevent kidnappings, even if the price is that they kidnapped people. Some of them might get killed. It, even with like FARC in Colombia, they have they have they can be expected to honor a hostage exchange, and you just pay them money and they actually do release their hostages, but not so with Hamas and Hezbollah. They will demand their fellow terrorists to be released
Yes.
from prison.
Yeah.
The
But
whole
it's
problem
like
is that Israel is not
I
brave
always
enough to
remember
implement the death penalty. That's the sad
that
part.
what was it? Black September when they kidnapped those Olympic weightlifters, I think they
No,
were.
there's the Black September event and there's the Black September organization.
No, no, not the organization, the event where the Munich when they kidnapped the
No,
Israeli.
no, wait, you're confused. There was the actual Black September event, which was
Right.
an attempted Palestinian uprising in Jordan, where
No,
the
not that. No, no.
and they named an organization after that event, which was also called the Black September Memorization Organization, and they committed the attack that kidnapped the Israeli athletes in the Munich Olympics of 1972, I
It
think.
just every time I watch a documentary about that or read anything, it doesn't make sense as to why they targeted those innocent athletes.
Because
To
they were
me,
not well guarded, because the filthy Germans, the Nazi scum,
yeah,
were intentionally not guarding the place, because they had the stupid hippie ideas that why would somebody attack the Olympic Games? And then the Nazi scum refused to be assisted by the Israeli army. They even refused to take assistance from their own army special forces. They brought in like regular policemen, just handed them rifles, which they didn't know how to use, and told them, "You're the
oh,
hostage rescue group." So they had an intention to have a failed rescue attempt, so that the further terrorist attacks that happened in the 70s and the 80s that involved kidnappings and planes, we had a
yeah,
lot of them at the time. They wanted the memory of the failed rescue attempt to facilitate the surrender of the authorities in the future, areas, especially the French. They would always like pay the ransom and let the terrorists run away instead of
Yeah.
trying, because they had the experience of the failed rescue op. In Israel, we had like 4 or 5 attempts of kidnapping a plane, and we will always just shoot whoever tried it. Oh, actually, Bibi Netanyahu himself participated in one of these, and he got shot in the arm during
What
Wasn't
his.
it
year was that?
What's her name? Meir or something? Wasn't she the president at the time?
Golda
Golden.
Meir, yeah, it was.
Yeah.
She was
Yeah.
the prime
What year
minister of
was
Israel.
that? You two? What year?
1972.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay. So that was a year after I was born.
Yeah, and it sticks in my memory every time I watch a documentary or read a book about it, because they were so innocent. They were just athletes
Yeah.
there to compete in the Olympic Games,
Mm.
and they were
Uh,
murdered. They were just
I
cold-blooded,
mean,
beaten. You know?
compare that to a more recent event like the Fogel family that was what, 5 years ago, where just a 17-year-old Palestinian snuck into a house and murdered 5 children aged between 8 years old and 3 months old. He stabbed a baby in the crib, and he's a national hero to them. That's terrorism. They attack the Jews wherever they find them, and they become
Um,
national heroes.
Because
oh
the
my
favourite
God.
word over here is baby killers, baby killers.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Apparently,
what
I've
I,
got a family full of them. I've got a family full of them. Yeah,
They
it's
have
yeah,
right
funny.
now a 1-year-old baby being held hostage, an Israeli kidnapped
yeah,
baby.
and they said, and I saw somebody said Hamas killed 2 of their own people because they obeyed orders to get free food from the UN.
Just
UN was
two?
bringing over the
I've seen at
food,
least 50
and
executed. They have this
yeah,
unique execution method where instead of just shooting somebody, they would shoot them in the bones of the legs, so they can't move away, but they'll just bleed to death and scream from the pain for a good couple of minutes before they
and
bleed
that's to
out.
their own
But all the
people,
neighbors will
isn't
hear
it?
it.
It's to their own people.
Oh,
So, how much
Yeah,
did you say Hamas worth? Worth? You said they were. I thought they're just millions, but you said billions, didn't you? Didn't you earlier?
their top leader has a net worth of about 5 billion, and then the guy after that 3 billion, and the guy after that 2 billion, and they all have a lot of money over there. They just live in the penthouse floor of hotels in Qatar or in Turkey or in Libya or whoever would have them, and very lavishly live. Same thing with Yasser Arafat. He would constantly get, hosted by North Korea or
yeah.
Cuba or China or the Soviet Union or anybody else. And under the guise of pleading for help for the Palestinian people, he had his wife Zara going to shopping sprees in Paris every day, spending $10,000-$15,000.
And
And
didn't he die in a French hospital, if I remember? Yes, at Arafat.
um, I don't remember where he died, but
I, I just remember it. I remember because I thought,
yeah,
well,
he
that's
had
hypocritical.
HIV. He was secretly bisexual, so he contracted HIV and died from it relatively fast because he didn't take the pills that would treat it to
See, it's
hide
so
his
different
shame.
when you talk to someone who's actually
Mm.
there and understands the nature and the culture of the war, if you know what I mean. Where we can
Yeah,
only understand it from our point of view, it's good to hear it coming from you because you're
I
saying
mean,
it's tribal. It's a tribal thing.
I
Yeah,
mean,
when
you have the
Afghan's
same
in
phase in.
bleeding, saying he's a liar, but he won't come over and debate him.
Yeah, come at me.
No, I heard Afghan say that he would debate Alexander, but he'd pull Alexander to bits. Yeah, yeah. I'll pull him to bits. Yeah, all right, Afghan.
It
Come
won't
and
work
try.
with him. Yeah.
Come at me, bro.
Yeah, he don't care.
I
But
mean,
you're not going to have him over there bleeding. I know what you're trying to do, but you're not having him over there. He goes on here.
I don't think. I think Alexander's too straightforward for them.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
want to talk about ridiculous things, whereas Alexander's just to the
I
point.
can talk
You ask,
about ridiculous things. They don't scare
no,
me.
no. When I ask you a question, love, you answer properly and you're straightforward. Where they go right round the houses to get to a silly question.
Mm,
Um, yeah.
mm.
Well,
They
if it has
rather dox
comedic
people's
value.
children and they attack families to have a debate. Yeah. To be fair, like
Yeah.
bleeding's going around with a photo of an avatar of me now.
So the usual terrorist tactics of trying to scare the enemy instead of actually
Yeah.
fighting.
Yeah.
Typical Muslim cowards.
Mm.
Nothing new. Yeah.
Well, they're not. They're actually they're not. They're non-Muslim. Some of them.
Oh, just useful idiots.
And they may
Yeah.
not be Muslims, but they certainly take the Muslim stance, don't they?
Well, before so to come on, if you see the beginning of the show, I showed the hypocrite Governor Sabida's thing, saying, "Well done, Sabida, having a go at the scum." That's when she was having a go at a Jewish man and calling him a baby killer
Oh,
and that. So
that young Jewish lad. Yeah.
yeah, so he put a thing up saying, having a go at the scum. So he's a liar. He is anti. He hates the Jews. He hates England. He hates the English,
Radical Islam? No,
and
it's almost.
he is a radical Islam. And I don't care what they say.
It's not
He is a
radical.
radical
It's
Islam.
traditional Islam.
Yeah.
Um,
He's a propaganda, and that's what they are. They are. Look, I'm all for people saying about the war and everything, but the way they go about things, they hate
Oh
all. They hate all Jews. And when do we say all Muslims been raping our kids? We don't say the whole community. We say
no.
that's set people, and that's what they do. And they spread that hate. And who's the racist? They are. They're the racist. Well,
the,
he is.
the
Yeah, but you got to
fundamental
wonder
flaw.
sometimes: would it be better to deal with them the way Alexander said, and the way we pussyfoot? Oh, okay then. Right, we'd take 5 years to get you into a court before. Do you know what I mean? Easy. That's
Yeah.
why it's allowed to go on.
Mm, mm, mm.
They want the problem to not be solved because they're profiting from it in more ways than one. And like I keep telling Rick, I suspect that the end game is they want to have their goal is to have concentration camps again on British soil, and they don't really care which side is ruling because they think they can control both sides. So if you have a war between the Muslims and the, let's call it, the Europeans, original
Hmm.
Europeans, and the original Europeans win, they will try to deport all the Muslims, and they will have to push them into concentration camps. And if the Muslims win, then they will, assuming not slaughter everybody immediately, they will push the Europeans into concentration camps. And they don't care which side wins as long as they get the concentration camps that they want. And that's why they're pushing this sort of conflict, this pan-European conflict, because they want all the concentration camps in all of Europe. The mistake from their point of view is that they were doing the whole thing about race in World War II, and now they're doing it purely on ideology, where whoever disagrees with them can be thrown in jail. And even with the again the Nazi concentration camps, the ugly fact that people are hiding is that only 1/3 of the people in the concentration camp system were Jews. 2/3 of them were non-Jews. They were there for political reasons or racial reasons.
Yeah.
So anybody the government didn't like could end up in a concentration camp. That's the goal. That's what they want, to have the ability to kill anybody that disagrees with them. And
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. All kinds of people ended up in those camps.
Mm, mm,
they want to gain that power back again because their system is inherently flawed. They have like the communists, they don't believe the concept that supply and demand of a product chooses its price. They have this, the whole, oppressor and oppressed, and you can't have a deal where both sides are profiting. It's their religious it's fundamental religious principles for them, and they need to enforce their religion, otherwise it fails, like it fails in every other communist country. So they cannot have both communism and no concentration camps. So they're pushing towards a situation where you have concentration camps in order to, from that, create the communism that they want. And they don't care if it's Islamic communism or Nazi communism or, I don't know, Anglican Christian communism or, I don't know, Baptist communism. I'm not sure what kind of things you have over there in Britain, but all they care about is totalitarian regime, concentration camps, and
Yeah.
the destruction of the rule of law. That's their goals, and that's where they're starting the whole mass migration thing to push it in.
Well,
Afghan, if you're about to come over, at least you can be intelligent about it sometimes. I know you can. So you're welcome to come over and challenge him if you want. Yeah,
well, I don't see what's the challenge. It's
yeah,
um, it's Alexander's truth, if you know what I mean.
yeah,
I
yeah.
I just wanted to, because of the things that people say, I wanted to clear that
Mm,
up. Um,
yeah. And
it's
you can,
like,
if you want to
people
do a
forget that.
stream with Alex, if you want to do a stream with Alex, you're quite welcome to get you connected with him.
Okay, love,
Uh,
yeah.
Not exactly
If you
hiding
want,
from
because
everybody.
I want him to go on a bigger platform as well, but only on the selected people. So, I obviously, if Ellie gets with this, he can, but only if he doesn't have people, go and bombard him. But I,
But
because I
you've
know
got to
there's a
remember that
few
most
like,
of them are all anti-Israel, aren't they?
but I
I'm
think
not
he
sure. I'm
thrives
not
on
sure.
this.
It's a fun
He
challenge.
thrives on it. Like that's what he likes because he keeps running to me, get people to oppose me. So I'm
Mm.
doing the hardest. So I you know anyway, I'm not. I'm looking to promote this guy because um, people are doing bad propaganda about my channel and they're staying away because of the views. Um,
No,
'Cause I
don't
was
worry about the
No,
views.
no, no, because I was getting the views, but it's not that. But I want him to have a bigger platform, Wendy, so people to get to know who he is. Yeah, do you
I
get what
mean,
I'm
in
saying?
Israel, I'm moderately well known. I had a
Mm,
podcast published recently that's
mm,
getting it's past
mm.
50,000 views in one day. So I'm
Well,
not unknown to people.
I'm on about this corner of YouTube, so like Wendy's got quite a big channel, and she gets some views, and she's a much better interviewer than me. And I drift off a little bit, like I drift off to sleep one day with you and
Yeah,
Dale.
yeah,
You
you
Yeah,
did
fell
it. You
asleep in the
did it.
middle of a talk.
yeah, I did it. It was a really good stream, and because I was really, I dropped off to sleep. It was about 6 o'clock in the evening, and I
Bloody hell,
really.
easy.
But if you look through all the streams, Wendy, and then you can play it and review them, then have him on. You can. I'll connect him up with you.
All right, love. So I'm
So
going to
you,
do that now.
sorry,
But Alexander, it's been great talking to you, love, and I wish you luck.
right,
Yeah, you too.
right. You got
Keep-
Wendy. If you go with my thing, it goes to 1 to 8. Okay. Oh, the
Okay, love.
first one I got to download because for some reason it went off for some reason. I've got to get that back from StreamYards, and it will only be a vocal one, the full one. But there's 2 up to 3, up to 8. So you feel free to use. If you want Alexander, you're 3 hours ahead, aren't you, Alexander, aren't you? Or 2?
What?
You're 3 hours ahead of us, aren't you?
2 hours actually.
2 hours. So bear in mind he's 2 hours of thing, and if you put that out, I'll get him if you just put out a StreamYards link, and I'll give it to him, and he'll come over to you when, if you
All
want.
right then, love. Thank you, Easy.
Yeah.
Thank you, love. Bye-bye.
Bye. See you
Bye.
later.
Bye.
Bye. So, Alexander, you got over 100 views watching her. So that mine will pick up again after a little while. I've had a bit of a smear thing at the moment. But what I'm going to do, mate, I'm going to go and watch the football in a minute. So I'm going to say thank you for coming on again for a great stream.
Yeah, thank you too.
And Afghan, if you ever come over, you're welcome. I ain't got nothing against you. You could go and come and speak to him. But now you're not coming in. But a Dookie, I'm very surprised you didn't come over, because all the threats you've been giving me, calling him a baby killer, and you fucking bottled it. That is your last chance now. So.
They're all cowards and bullies. They run away the minute they
Yeah.
see actual resistance.
But we will do another one. It won't be till after the weekend, mate. So, have a good evening. If I come back on later and you're awake, I'll send you the link, mate. But I doubt it, because... Another one here is another Israel supporter. And, yeah. But like I said, you could content for Alex. Sometimes I don't think I want Israel to get the Hamas terrorists, so they don't fucking oppress their own people, because the propaganda's put out. I'm going to be doing it after the weekend, Babs, because I'm really busy. I can't cover the England one. Because I think Hamas are the ones. Do you know what? The cheeky bastards they push. They make out the Palestinians are so bored that I see a Jew go into Palestine and he stayed in a 6-star hotel in the Palestine area. Very posh. He was on the borders, and he went in there and snuck in there and filmed.
What's a 6-star as opposed to a 5-star?
Oh, it's like a star. Like they go up in grades, how great the how luxury.
Yeah, but I've never heard of a 6-star, so I'm not sure what
6-star, 5-star, and they say it's poor and deteriorated. Well, how comes they've got fucking hotels are quite, so they're not that fucking poor there, as far as I'm concerned. Propaganda put there. Yeah, Babs. I tell you what, Babs. If you want me to, I will actually. Babs, I tell you why I'm not feeling too well today, mate. That's why. But I will start it from Monday evening. I'm afraid, mate. So thank you, Alexander.
Thank you, Rick.
Sorry, mate. I've been a bit out of sorts, mate, because I've been quite ill. I've been in and out of hospital.
Yeah, so, happens in your age. Try iodine supplements. It really helps me, at least.
So there will be another show, I'm sure. There will be another show for you to go over. But I'm sure Wendy's going to review one of your things. And yeah.
Okay. So.
All right. Go and watch football, mate. European Championships, mate. So.
Yeah, it's your thing.
Take care, man.
Goodbye
Oh,
then.
Palestine lost 5-0 in football the other day.
Mm,
All right, mate. Take care.
sure.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Sorry you've missed
Goodbye.
it, Dan. Babs, you want me to do a football stream, mate? I could do it if you want. I will start it from Monday evening, Babs. I'm going to have to miss the England one. I have got things to take care of and trying to get this YouTube up. But I will be back with it. I will turn it over and I'm got. I just want to organise it. I just want to organise it a bit better so I can have some panelists on while I'm doing it. So we'll get it like I done with the World Cup that time. We'll do it. Sorry, I haven't been really prepared for it, to be fair. But I will do. Right, thanks for coming. Now everybody's getting to know about Alexander and Wendy. Most probably have him over there, and I think Wendy's gonna be doing a review. So go over there. So we keep hearing the propaganda, and my thing is a draw tonight. Everybody go for a 1-1 draw. It's always a shock in the opener. I've got a funny feeling Scotland are going to get a point tonight. Come on, Scotland. And my outsider bet to win the Euros is Denmark, the outsider. But England should win it. I've done it. MC, go to the Sun and do the fantasy football. Look at all the midfields. England has got the best. Right, it's going to see Tony make history for Brentford. The first Brentford player to play in a European tournament. And sorry, Tony won't be playing tonight. He will be playing Sunday. Right, take care, guys. Bye-bye.